I am 98 years old. The lie was this: I was a good man, and I believed that was enough. Now, let me tell you the truth I spent 70 years learning the hard way. Before we go any further, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Tell me in the comments what God has meant in your life and where you watching from. I read every one of them. I did not drink. I did not chase other women. I paid every debt I ever owed on time, in full. I worked hard, Lord, did I work. I raised my children. I kept my yard clean and my word clean and my hands clean. I showed up to church on holidays and some Sundays in between. By every measure the world hands you, I was a good man, and I was proud of it. Not loud proud, not boastful. The quiet kind of proud, the kind that sits behind your ribs and whispers, "You've handled yourself well." The kind that doesn't need to say a word because it already knows it's right. I built that identity the way you build a brick wall. One year at a time, one right decision stacked on top of the last. And when it was tall enough, I stood behind it and called it a life. See, the thing about a brick wall is it looks solid from the outside, looks permanent, looks like something you can trust to hold weight. But a wall built by your own two hands, mortared together with your own pride, that wall has no foundation you didn't pour yourself. And anything you build alone, on ground you chose alone, will crack. It just takes long enough and cold enough weather. I had a hard heart. Not mean, not cruel, just hard. Like an engine that hasn't been run right, looks fine when you open the hood, clean enough. All the parts are there, but the inside has gone to rust because nothing living has moved through it in years. That was me, a rusted engine still convinced it could drive. Church was a place I visited. God was a name I used on Sundays and in hard moments and sometimes when I hit my thumb with a hammer. But a relationship, a real daily talking and listening conversation with the Creator of everything that ever was. I didn't have that. I had religion the way some men have a good suit. You put it on when it's called for. You hang it up when you get home. The truth I didn't know then, the truth that took me too long to understand, is that being good is not the same as knowing God, not even close. There's a verse in Proverbs that says, "There's a way that seems right to a man, but it leads somewhere you don't want to go." I read that verse a dozen times in my life. I nodded at it like a man nods at a road sign he has no intention of following. Because I was self-sufficient. That was my real religion. I was the god of my own small world, and I didn't even know it. I didn't need saving because I was handling things. I didn't need grace because I was earning my keep. I didn't need to surrender because surrendering is what weak men do. Or so I told myself for 70 years. And God? God was something I'd deal with later, after the kids were grown, after I retired, after things slowed down and I finally had time to sit with the big questions. But someday kept moving, the way someday always does. And then the years stopped moving the way I expected them to, and someday ran out. My wife died on a Tuesday. I remember the day of the week because I had been at work the Friday before. I remember thinking on the drive home that Friday that I needed to fix the screen door. That was the size of my concerns that week. The screen door, a loose hinge. She was gone by Tuesday. And I want to tell you something about that silence. Not the silence at the funeral, where there are people and hands to shake and casseroles coming through the front door. Not that silence. I mean the silence of the third week, when everybody has gone back to their lives, when the casseroles have run out, when you walk into a kitchen that smells like her, and you realize the smell is already starting to fade. That silence, the kind that sits in a chair across from you and doesn't move. I could not fix that, and I want you to understand what that meant for a man like me, a man who had spent 70 years handling things, a man whose whole identity was built on being the one who figures it out, who shows up, who does not ask for help. I had no tool for this. I had no system. I had no next right step to take. I just had the chair, and the silence, and the smell that kept fading no matter what I did. So I did what proud men do. I kept busy. I fixed the screen door. I cleaned out the garage. I told my children I was fine. I said it so many times and with such conviction that I almost believed it myself. Almost. Because at night, when the busy ran out and the house went dark, there was nothing left between me and the truth. The rusted engine had finally seized. One night, I couldn't tell you which one. They all looked the same that season. I was sitting in the dark. Not dramatically, not on my knees, just sitting in my chair with the lamp off because I hadn't had the energy to reach over and turn it on. And I was out of answers, completely empty. 70 years of self-sufficiency, and I had nothing left in the tank. And I said something out loud. It wasn't polished. It wasn't the kind of prayer they teach you in Sunday school. It was just this: Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. That's it. 6 words, maybe the most honest 6 words I'd spoken in decades. Now, I didn't hear a voice. The lamp didn't turn on by itself. Nothing dramatic happened in that room, but something shifted. Something in my chest that had been clenched for 70 years, maybe longer, just let go. A little. Just enough. There's a psalm I know. Most people know it. The one about the valley. Even when you walk through the darkest place, you are not alone. I had read those words at funerals my whole life. Said them out loud at gravesides. Never once let them land on me personally. But sitting in that dark room, they finally did. Faith isn't the absence of the dark, child. Faith is having a light inside it. I didn't know that until I was old enough that most of the people I loved were already gone. I didn't become a different man that night. I want to be clear about that. I didn't float up out of that chair with all my questions answered. I was still the same stubborn, worn-out, grieving old man I had been when I sat down. But I stopped pretending I wasn't, and that was when I started to understand what I had been running from all those years. God was not waiting to punish me. That's the thing I had wrong for most of my life. I think I believed somewhere underneath all that self-sufficiency that if I ever stopped and got quiet enough to actually face him, he would read me the list. Every shortcoming, every year I kept him at arm's length. Every Sunday I phoned it in. Every prayer I never prayed. I think I was braced for judgment. But that's not what I found in the dark. What I found was that he had been standing still the whole time. Perfectly still. While I ran myself ragged building walls and earning keep and handling things, he was just there, waiting, not angry, not keeping score, just waiting for me to stop moving long enough to notice. There's a story in Scripture about a son who runs off and wastes everything he has and finally comes home broke and ashamed. Most people know that story. The father runs to meet him before he even finishes his speech. That's grace. Most people focus on that son, but there's another son in that story, the older one, the one who stayed home, the one who worked hard and followed the rules and did everything right. And when the party started for his brother, that older son stood outside, furious. He told his father, "I have been here the whole time." And the father said, "Son, you have always been with me. Everything I have is yours." But the older son couldn't receive it. His pride wouldn't let him walk through the door. I was that older son. For 70 years I was standing outside the party, doing the right things, keeping my record clean, and completely missing the point. Being good was pride wearing a church coat. That's all it was. My goodness kept me from needing grace. And if you don't think you need grace, you will never receive it. Grace is not something you earn. You can't earn it, that's the whole point. Grace is what you get when you finally stop pretending you don't need it. When you put down the ledger. When you stop counting your own good deeds like coins in a jar. When you just open your hands. There's a difference between religion and relationship. Religion is a checklist. Show up on the right days. Say the right words. Don't do the things on the bad list. Check, check, check. A relationship is something else. It's a conversation. It's daily. It's honest. It's showing up when you're not at your best and trusting that you're still wanted there. I had religion. I had the suit. What I didn't have was the relationship. And there is no substitute for the real thing. None. I think about the years. I do. There's a line in Ecclesiastes, "Remember your Creator while you are young." The weight of that word while you still have time, while the years haven't run down to almost nothing, while there is still road ahead of you. I didn't remember. Not truly, not in any way that cost me anything. And now I am standing at the far end of a very long road, and I grieve those years, not with despair, but honestly, the way you grieve any good thing you set down too long ago to get back. I didn't lose those years, but I wish I hadn't spent them running. Now I'm looking back at you, and you are still in the middle of your road, and I need you to hear me. Stop waiting for your life to settle down before you turn to God. It won't settle down. That is not how life works. You know this already, even if you haven't said it out loud. There is always one more thing, one more problem to solve, one more season to get through. The kids, the money, the job, the health. After this, you say, after this one thing, then I'll have time for the big questions. Then I'll get right with God. But the goalpost keeps moving. You get through one thing, and there's another. Always another. And I ran that same race for 70 years, always one season away from being ready, until the season I stopped being able to run at all. You don't have to clean yourself up first. That is not the deal. That has never been the deal. You come as you are, broken, tired, proud, running. You come exactly as you are. That is the whole point of grace. If you had to be clean to come, none of us would ever make it through the door. Not me, not you, not one single soul. The clock is real. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because I am 98 years old, and I know how fast the years move when you're not looking. You think you have forever. You don't. None of us do. And the people you love don't either. Whatever you are waiting for, whatever finish line you think you need to cross before you're ready to turn around and face God, I am telling you from the end of a very long life, that finish line is not coming. There is a word in Romans that I hold on to now like a man holds a railing in the dark. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. Not your past, not your pride, not your years of running, nothing. I can't tell you what He will do for you. I can only tell you what He did for me. He met a worn-out old man in a dark room with 6 stumbling words, and He did not turn away. He won't turn away from you either. It took me 70 years to understand what was right in front of me the whole time. Don't waste yours. If you are tired of running, you can stop today, right now. No preparation needed. No cleaned-up version of yourself required. Just stop. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been putting God off the same way I did. And tell me in the comments, where are you looking for peace today? I want to know. I'll be reading. The good Lord is still standing still. He'll be there when you turn around.